What's up YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter back, and today we have a huge mixed coin roll hunt for you. As you can see, we've got a mix of Loomis wrapped rolls along with a ton of customer wrapped rolls. We've got 250 in quarters. We have 170, I think is right, in dimes. We've got 10 in pennies, and we have 50 in nickels, and I can't wait to get into these coins, especially when I see some of these older wrappers with different colors. I get real excited about those because we don't know how long those have been sitting in somebody's house. Sometimes it's all old stuff, sometimes it's all new stuff, but we don't know till we get into the rolls. So let's jump into it. And I'm probably going to start with, let's pick. I'm probably going to start with the nickels today because those are a lot of fun. And we'll see where the hunt takes us from there. So I've been working for several years on filling out this Jefferson nickel album from 1938 to 2003, which is actually not true because I put the extra pages in it to get us all the way down through 2025. I think you might not be able to see that. It's just off camera. But I'm only missing like 6 nickels in this whole book outside of proofs, which I don't think I'm going to find all those coin roll hunting. And this is a book that I have only filled with coin roll hunting finds. And so I know I have the war nickels. I have them from purchases, but I refuse to fill the spots with those because I want to get them in either customer wrapped or bank wrapped rolls. And hopefully today we'll find a couple of those fillers in here. And as you can imagine, the 5 or 6 coins that I'm missing, they're all sort of very rare finds, or they're going to be semi-key dates or key date nickels. So it's not surprising that I've really struggled to find those guys, but let's get into a couple of rolls of nickels here on camera just to see what they're looking like. Hopefully we'll have a good mix of oldies and newies. Newies, is that a word? I don't know if newies is a word, but old coins and new coins. And with nickels, they are a ton of fun to hunt. If you've never coin roll hunted before, there's lots and lots to look for. I do recommend you getting a search list like the one that I have down below in the description of this video, or through purchasing a book like the Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book, and I've got a link to that down in the description as well for my Amazon affiliate link. For nickels, I do like to kind of edge hunt them a little bit. Sometimes those war nickels, because they are 35% silver, they will present a little grayish green, and older nickels will also be a little bit more dull than your newer nickels. And I'm just looking through there real quick to see if anything jumps out at me. I will go back and look at the years, the dates, the obverses, and the reverses of every one of those nickels, looking for mint varieties like double die obverses and double die reverses and repunched mint marks. You name it, I look for it on this channel. Like there's a 64, and there is a repunched mint mark on the back of that guy. So nothing in there. I'm going to open one more on camera, and I'll go back and hunt through those myself. And if I find anything interesting, I'll be sure to bring you in, and we'll talk all about it. Come on. I hate how sometimes the coins just fall out of those wraps. I'm just going to make a mess with it. And sometimes I got to struggle to get them out. There's a little roadkill. That thing's no good anymore. So nothing jumping out in those first 3 rolls. I'll be sure to bring you in as soon as we find something interesting to talk about. So I cleaned up roll number 3 first because I made a mess of it. Getting through roll number 1, and nothing too fancy here, but we do have a decent looking 2009 filly, which is an incredibly low mintage year for modern nickels. I don't have the number memorized, but I'll throw it up on the screen. And I can tell you this number is way, way, way under what most modern nickel mintages are. So most coin roll hunters do hang on to their 2009s, especially if they're in pretty decent shape. And I have also, along the way, the 2024s were extremely collectible when in original bank wrapped rolls. I know personally I sold some on eBay. I know some of my viewers sold tons of them on eBay and made a lot of money. I think they are still going for a decent premium, so whenever I do find them, I go ahead and pull them from circulation and create rolls of them. And for right now, I'm just hanging on to them. So I'm going to keep on hunting. Well, it's been pretty quiet getting through roll number 8, and we've got our first foreign on the hunt. And we got ourselves what I believe here is going to be a Canadian nickel. Because we got Queen Elizabeth on the front, and we've got ourselves a 1998 Canadian beaver nickel. Now I did in one of the rolls get misstuffed by a dime, so technically I don't mind when that happens if it's a nickel roll because we make a little bit of money on those. And the pile of 2024s continues to grow. We'll just throw that one up here with the rest of them and keep on hunting. I got rolls 9 and 10 out, and while doing my little rows here, we did come across an oldie. Well, I think I just maybe missed it. Where'd it go? There it is. Came across a 1940. Now, anything 1959 and earlier we do hang on to. Most coin roll hunters do. They're fairly old, and a lot of the pre-59s will have more than likely more DDOs, DDRs, that sort of thing to look for. But I keep these in tubes. They're not terribly pretty coins, but when I do find really nice ones, I love to upgrade my book with them. But for now, it's our first real keeper for the board, and we're going to keep on getting through these rolls. So we're down to our last 6 rolls of nickels, and I'm bringing you in here for another 40s find, and I had to put this under the scope to see it originally because I just couldn't make out the date. We have a 1949, and I did find another 1940 along the way, so if we have, I believe it's the S. It is a semi-key date. The Philadelphia, I think it's less important, so let's check it out together. And we have just a regular 1949 Philly. Still a nice find on the hunt. So 5th roll from the end, and we've got the partner to the 2009 Philly. We come across a little bit beat up 2009 Denver. So now we got the pair, and I'll put the mintage for this guy on the screen for you as well. So we're into the very last roll of nickels, and we've got a 1959, the last year that I might care about and hang on to, and it's a decent looking coin for being this as old as it is, at least on the front. Of course, the reverse leaves a little bit to be desired. Well, that's going to do it for the nickels, and they were kind of subpar considering it was half a box of nickels. I brought you in for most of it. We did have a couple of 1940s. We did have a 1949, and the very last roll did give us a 1959. Was kind of neat finding ourselves a 2009 Philly and Denver in that single hunt. I've done entire boxes. I've done multiple boxes and not gotten a single 2009. So that was pretty neat. We did come away with 25 2024 Philadelphias, misstuffed by a dime, and I did not bring you in for this one because we'd already brought you in for a Canadian, but we did get a 1972. So 2 foreigns on the hunt as well. And I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to go ahead and quickly get through these dimes because we're only going to be hunting those for silver. All right, well, as I said, we'll only be hunting these dimes for silver, and that's pretty easy to do. We'll just be checking those edges for a solid gray or silver edge. We'll jump right out at you most of the time if you're unrolling these dimes. There's not a whole lot to look for. I do have a handful of things you might be interested in the document, the description down below. And as I rewrap these, I do kind of look through them, just sort of scan through them really quickly, looking for proofs, because every now and then you might have something super shiny. I have a lot of 2021s in this roll, but as you spread these out on a table, a proof dime will jump right out at you because it'll have that mirror finish. And I'll usually kind of try to find those as I get these things rewrapped. But what I'll do here is at least these first 10 or 12 rolls, I'll do it on camera. And if we're not finding anything, I'll go ahead and fast forward through the video. And then I'll go off camera, at least for the 10 or 12 I open. And I'll go off camera and hunt the rest of them and bring you in if we happen to come across some silver. So, let's get into roll number 2. We got nothing there. Oh, look at that. It's roll number 10, I think. We got a couple of dryer coins. There's one there, And there's one there. Take a look at those in a second, but no silver so far. But look at the edges on these guys. Good Lord. I don't know if these were dryer coins or if these were machined down. This one looks like it was maybe machined. It's a 2001, but it's possible it was stuck in a dryer. This happens. They get caught in there and they go round and round and round for hours a day, and these edges get completely worn off. So no value in them, but they are kind of neat to find. Oops. So nothing there. Nothing there. And nothing there. So that was the first, I think, 12 or I think 14 rolls actually. I'm going to go ahead and go off camera. I'll get these cleaned up first, but go ahead off camera and get into these rolls. And if I happen to find anything, I'll be sure to bring you in. And like I said, if we do, it will be silver. All right, well, we have moved on to the quarters, and I'm going to start by opening these bank wrapped rolls first, because these customer wrapped rolls, you never know what you're going to get. Could be super exciting, could go really, really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and crack into this first set of 5 here, and you can see we've got some of the newer quarters. As enders on this end, and it looks like mainly older, at least state quarters over here, a couple oldies over there. So let's go ahead and get these guys out. Maybe open 1 or 2 rolls on camera and just see if we got any silver in there or anything old looking. Now, for those of you that haven't been watching the channel from the beginning, one of the best quarter finds I ever had was out of a Loomis box, Loomis wrapped roll of quarters, and it was an 1856 seated Liberty quarter. Found that like in the first year that I was coin roll hunting, and one of the first couple of boxes I think I hunted. It absolutely floored me. I actually ended up getting it graded when I was at the coin show in Alabama last year. Not that it was super high grade, it was really just something that I wanted to get. I wanted to get it graded to understand what the grade would be, but ultimately I did it just to preserve the coin for my own collection. So anyway, let's do this last little roll here on camera. And I'm going to go back through these, checking the obverse and the reverse for die chips, die cracks, DDOs, DDRs, whatever else is out there in these quarters. And again, I've said it in all the other denominations. I do have a search list in the description down below, or feel free to follow along using your Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book. Cleaning up the first 3 rolls, bringing in here roll number 3, probably a quarter of the way through. And we've got our first find in the quarters. It's one you really don't need a microscope to see, but I'll put it under there for you just in case. But there's a big die chip on the upper wing of that biplane that's not supposed to be there. This is the Bessie Coleman 2023 Philly. And under the scope, it's really, really obvious. And like I said, you don't need this to see this error. Where did it go? Where's my biplane? Got my quarter sideways. There we go. I found it. There it is. Big hunk of metal right there. Not supposed to be there. Checked eBay. These things are going for anywhere from about $3 to $5, depending on the quality of the quarter and the size of that die chip. So always fun finding these. I've found a ton of them over the years, and I don't know if it's been years, but year or two, and I just keep them in rolls. I don't really sell these, but always a good thing to have to your search list. Well, I've broken into the second pack. We've actually got rolls. I think it was 4, 5, and 6 out. Getting through roll number 5, and bringing you in here for another 2023 Philly, and it is another Bessie Coleman. This time, we've got a die chip on the front. Now, this quarter's not in great shape, but we still have a little die chip there on the nose. Again, you don't need a scope to see this one. You can see it under just some basic magnification, makes it really easy to see, but you could see it with the naked eye as well. And there we go, that little die chip, not supposed to be there. And I will put some eBay comps on the screen for you on this one. Again, typically these little die chips end up being in that sort of $1 to $5 range, but I could be wrong about this one. And again, quality of the quarter does matter oftentimes, and this one's not in the best of shape. So I think we're on like roll number 8 in these quarters, and bringing you in for our next find. It's another Philadelphia. It's one of the Homestead quarters, and for those of you that don't know, this quarter has about like 80 or 100 different double die reverses on it. It also has a snow on the roof error, a leaky bucket error, but we don't have any of those. We've got the double die reverse. Now the double die reverse ends up presenting itself down here in the door in any one of these bottom 4 windows, and there's even one where the water pump is doubled up here into the windows. This one you can see here, we've got a little bit of doubling right there on this upper left or middle left window. If I can find the exact version of this double die reverse on varietyvista.com, I'll throw it up on the screen. And typically these go for a couple of bucks on eBay. Again, the quality of the or the condition of the quarter, of course, matters. And this one's pretty well worn, so I do think you could sell this as a variety or an error. Well, not a variety, but more an error for a couple of bucks. So we're into the last 2 rolls of the Loomis wrapped quarters, and we've got our next find. This time we've got a San Francisco business strike. It has definitely seen better days, but it has that kind of nice luster of a business strike, and it's a 2018 Wisconsin Apostle Islands. Now, these things are actually lower mintage than your W. West Point quarters, but for whatever reason, they're just not terribly collectible, or maybe collectors just don't want them. And they're not worth a whole lot, but I'll throw the mintage of this one up on the screen just to give you an idea. Those West Point quarters were each minted $2 million per year and per design, and a lot of these San Francisco business strikes were less than $2 million. A lot of them $700,000-800,000. I don't know for this particular quarter. It could be a little higher, but we'll see. So we've gotten through the Loomis wrapped rolls. I did want to go ahead and just open all these quarter wraps on camera in case we get lucky and there's any silver stuffed in there. We're actually more likely to find it here than in a bank wrapped roll more often than not, because a lot of people just don't even know what they have these days. And if we're not finding anything, I'll go ahead and fast forward to the end of the unwrappings, and I'll start going through these looking for errors and varieties. So that wraps up the quarters, and it wasn't a great hunt, but we did come away with a couple of cool finds. We'll start over here on the left. We did get that San Francisco business strike. It was a Apostle Islands 2018 Wisconsin. We did get that one DDR that I brought you in for, and so that was pretty neat. We got one of I like to call this the wart on the nose, but at the end of the day, it's just it's a die chip. They're up on the bridge of George Washington's nose there, and I also brought you in for our die chip up there on the biplane. We did come across 5 bicentennial Philadelphias, so we didn't check for any kind of DDO or DDR. It's on the Denver version of that. And I did a little bit of reading, and I did take a look at this under the scope. We did find one quarter that didn't have a clad layer, and this is typically due to a couple of things. One, it could be struck on a foreign planchet, which if you want to check that, you can always magnet test it. If it was on a Canadian quarter planchet, it would be magnetic. So obviously not magnetic. You can try to do some sort of scratch test. You can also try to do like a drop test to see if it sounds like it's silver. So maybe a mistaken silver planchet. If we had an S mint mark, that would have led me to believe we had a silver quarter. Another possibility is that the clad layer just is over top of that copper layer and you just couldn't see it. But looking at this more closely under the camera and under the scope and a loop, and you can kind of see it here, it does look like this might be either plated or lightly spray painted. So I think we've got ourselves just a standard Philadelphia 2002 Tennessee quarter. I'm not really leaning towards it being anything else. So if you happen to know more than I do, feel free to drop it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you, but I'm going to assign no value, and that'll probably go back to the bank. So out of all of those quarters, typically we have more finds than this, but I'm okay with it. And with that, we're going to move on to the pennies. And in the pennies, we're mainly looking for copper. And we do have a ton of mint varieties we'll be looking for. And my search list for this is typically in the Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book. So that's the resource I'll be using to check all my coins against. And we do have a couple of customer wrap rolls. We do have some copper enders, it looks like. And we probably have some new pennies in here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get you up on the rack. We'll open a couple of rolls of these together just to get a quick look at them, see how they're coming out of the rolls, and then I'll go off camera and keep on hunting. Okay, well, I cherry-picked these first 3 rolls. One, because I had a new ender. One, because I'm pretty sure I've got some copper enders here. And this last one, we had a new ender and something that was a little bit brown. So hopefully we'll get a nice variety of pennies out of here. Of course, in our pennies, we're always hoping to find something like an old Indian head penny. We're also looking for those wheat pennies, which would be, I think, 1958 and earlier. And when you open these penny rolls, you do love to see a lot of these super deep brown colors, because you know you're going to have some copper mixed up in there. And the more copper you have, the more likely you are to come across some wheat pennies. Right off the rip here on the very first coin, we've got a large date 1982, which is likely copper. I need to go get my scale out because the 1982s we definitely need to weigh because 82 was a split year, and they could be made of zinc. They could be made of copper, and you can tell from the weight. A copper penny is going to weigh 3.1 grams. So there's an 81 copper for sure. I'm just kind of going through here real quick to see if anything jumps out at me that's interesting. Or maybe a wheat penny. There's a 68. Yep, there's a 68, definitely copper. And I'm sure I missed some of these along the way. There's a 72. What is that? That is a 72D. The 72 has a bunch of DDOs and maybe a DDR on it, so I'll be checking that off camera. A 77. There's a 61. So as I suspected, we will have quite a bit of copper in these rolls. Copper's at up over like $6 a pound now, so our copper pennies are worth a fair amount, definitely more than 3 cents an actual penny or cent. So they're worth hanging on to just for the copper weight alone. Again, a lot of copper hiding in there. You can just tell from the color. I'll go through these a little bit more quickly. It's a 71. There's copper there. I'm just going to point them out. I'm looking for wheat pennies right now. It's a 73D. There's another copper. Yeah, there'll be plenty of stuff for me to pull out of there. I don't see any wheat pennies though. Let me do here roll number 3. And as I said, I'll go back through each and every one of those pennies looking for varieties or errors, as well as pulling all that copper out. Again, a lot more copper in there. You can just see it. Like right there, 1978. That might be copper. It's not. I can't always tell from the color, but a lot of times I can. There's a 75. 73. All right, well, no wheat pennies. So with that, I'll go off camera. I'll bring in if I find anything interesting or something worth more than just copper weight alone. And I'll bring in periodically as we get through these last, whatever, I think this is like 10, 20 rolls of pennies. So I got the next 3 rolls open, and on roll number 6 here, I was kind of going through it really quickly, and a couple of coins jumped out. One being this one right here. You can see that's going to be a wheat penny, and I got a Canadian up here as well, I think. So let's check out that wheat penny together. It is reversed, and it has seen better days. So let's check out what year do we have. Looks like we got a 1948, so I'll put that up here next to all the copper we got in those first 3 rolls. Let's see if we do have a Canadian. Definitely a Queen Elizabeth, looks like a young head, so probably an old one here. 1964, and I think these are like 98% copper, so even a little bit more copper in these than a typical US penny. So another find on the hunt. We're getting into roll number 12 here, and as I was laying this one out, we got another wheat penny sticking out here. Another one that was reverse facing, so very, very cool. This time we got ourselves a 1956 Denver. We just cracked into roll number 14, and we've got another. Where is it at? I know I saw it. There it is. Another wheat penny. Reverse facing all day today. The 1957D. That'll go nicely with our 56D. Very next roll, roll number 15. We're going through it again. Down here towards the end, we've got another reverse facing wheat penny. This time we got ourselves a 1952 Denver. So we're making a dent in the 50s. Well, cleaning up that roll 15, it looks like I missed one. We got one more wheat penny. This time we got ourselves a 1946. So another 40s era wheat penny for the hunt. All right, we're getting into the last two rolls of pennies, and this one, again, early on in the roll, reverse facing, another wheat penny, and we've got a 1957 Denver, and I think I've already got one of those. I do. And I kind of cheated already. I looked ahead. There was a guy that was standing out right there. Got another 1957 Denver, so another, 1957 Philly this time. Another wheat penny on the hunt. We're on our very last roll, about a third of the way through, and we've come across our next wheat penny here, a 1952 Denver, which I think it's our second one on the hunt. Absolutely is. There's the reverse. It's none of our wheat pennies have been in great shape, but honestly, you don't find too many really nice ones in circulation anymore. And so far, this hunt's been pretty good. 2, 4, 5. We've got 8 wheat pennies so far out of just, I think it was like $10 worth of pennies. So we're doing all right. Well, that's going to do it for our penny hunt, and while we didn't come across a lot of varieties or errors, we did get a ton of copper and a fair number of wheat pennies, considering we only had $10 worth. These days, when I can get a box of bank-wrapped pennies, I'm lucky to get 4 or 5 out of 50 rolls. So out of 20, getting 8 is pretty darn good. I brought you in for, I think, every single one of them, so I'll just kind of go over the years again so you can see them real quick. I'm not going to call them all out, but 8 wheat pennies is pretty darn good. We did get a whole bunch of regular copper, so 1982 and earlier. We got 131 brown ones. We got 3 kind of nicer, I would say, red ones, all from 1982, all weighed and verified to be copper. And we did have 1 foreign, a Canadian 1964. Now, I threw all these on the scale, and I found it easier just in coin apps to throw the number of copper pennies that we got in there to get a value. I didn't put the Canadian penny in there, and that is 8% copper. But today, copper price is $6.18 a pound, and we had 100, and I think it was 131, 140, it was like 142 or 143 pennies, and it came out to $5.72 worth of copper, which is pretty darn good, considering it's only like $1.40, $1.42 in actual cents. The other thing you see hiding over here is I did pull all the 2025s that I found along the way. Since 2025 was the last year that the U.S. Mint is minting pennies, these things have just taken on a life of their own. They're still selling in uncirculated rolls on eBay for $10 to about $15. So if you can make a nice roll of these from coin roll hunts, you might be able to make a few bucks on them. So I'm just pulling them aside, throwing them into some rolls, and one day I may sell them. Honestly, I don't understand what the craze is, other than the fact that they are the last year, but they made, I want to say, a billion of them, billions of them, something like that. It was a whole lot. I'm not going to go through all the rest of the finds, but you can tap back through the video if you did fast forward to the end. But we found a fair number of quarters. We had nothing in the dimes, and our nickels did okay as well for our 1959 and earlier. And we did get misstuffed to buy a dime there, and we got a couple of Canadian nickels. But all in all, I do love these mixed coin roll hunts because there's so much to look for. They do take me quite a bit of time to do them, so apologies for the length since our last video, but this one was a lot of fun. If you did enjoy this one, let me know. Drop on down below, click that like button and leave me a comment. And if you're new to the channel and you like this content or you like coin roll hunting in general, coin collecting, anything like that, make sure you click on that subscribe button and then click that little bell and select all so you get notified each and every time I release a new video. I'd really, really appreciate it. Shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys for continuing to support the channel, even though I'm not putting as much content out as I used to. I really appreciate it. And with that, I hope you guys are doing well. I did pick up $1,000 more worth of halves from the bank today, and unfortunately, one of the boxes is pretty loaded with 2023s, but the other one does look huntable. So you'll see in the video. I'll show you what these boxes look like, but we'll get through them, and I hope you enjoy that video as well. So with that, you guys take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.